Hey YouTube, Gordon Miller here. Okay, so I had mentioned something in a video not too long ago about Damon John's book, The Power of Broke. And I really wanted to reinforce that. I think that as most entrepreneurs go through a cycle of growth and even, you know, trials and tribulations, they go from making lots of money to making no money to making lots of money and back and forth. And I think that the thing that people need to understand is that being broke is a huge motivator. I think that that gets people out there and gets it done. And I think that's part of what makes entrepreneurs successful is the natural ebb and flow of opportunities creates the demand that drives the opportunity for folks to get out there and really start to hustle. It's really that hustle that pays off, and so I really think that that being broke is an important component in getting people motivated. Now, broke is different than poor. So we've had this conversation before. Being poor is a state of society for some folks. It's about what you get instead of a job. Some people it's Section 8 housing. Some people it's free cell phone. Some people it's EBT cards to buy food with, and the WIC program for kids. And most people are on some form of disability. As somebody whose wife is actually blind, that has a real disability, these people with fake disabilities really kind of piss me off. But they're all issued handicap parking permits, and their only disability is that they weigh 400 pounds, and that way they have to walk 40 feet less at the Piggly Wiggly. So I'm not all about the idea that people that have institutionalized poverty generationally, where it's generation after generation after generation of people that are happy being poor. And I have to say, I know I'm going to get a lot of hateful comments about this, but the reality is these people, that's what they know. They have grown up in an environment that supports them being poor and keeps them poor. They're in poverty. And it's like an industry or a business for them. I know folks that I've worked with that between the special needs kids that they foster care and all the disability payments and all the other payments and stuff, they get a total between $60,000 and $80,000 a year. Well, it's great that these foster families take care of kids with disabilities, and I appreciate that. But that's different than the folks that are having lots of kids and they're on some type of assistance and they get paid for every kid that they have. I support the programs that take care of the special needs kids, but I don't support the idea that you just keep having kids because the government's going to pay you to sit home and you have a $900 a month rent payment that you only pay $50 of, and oh, by the way, you're 8 months behind on the $50. And it's just it's unbelievable out there. So that's being poor. Being broke is just a temporary state, and I think it's important that people understand that it's a condition which can easily be corrected. As you begin to make more money and things like that, you won't be broke anymore. You'll have money, but having money and then not having money. And then having money again is sort of a natural cycle of things. And things grow. Things are born. Even ideas and companies are born. Then they grow, and eventually, they can die or they die off. And sometimes things have to die off in order to be able to grow a new opportunity. And I think people don't really understand that. A lot of people that I've run into said, "Oh man, the first 3 businesses of mine failed. I don't know what to do. Should I start my 4th?" Yeah, as long as you learned what you did wrong in the first 3 and you still feel like it's worthwhile to do, then yeah, go ahead. Come on, what do you got to lose? You already don't have anything. So, but I find that it's really interesting that I think people just don't understand that the whole rise and fall of certain things are just part of the natural cycle of things. and reinventing the opportunities and learning from the mistakes and going back at it again is just all part of the process. So don't get discouraged, and understand that you have to determine whether you are either broke or poor. If you have institutionalized, socialized poverty in your background, then you need to change your environment so that you can become wealthier and break out of poverty. There are opportunities out there for just about anybody, but you have to be willing to look for them, and you have to be willing to put the work in. There are job retraining opportunities that will prepare you for a better job or a job. There are lots of opportunities to work from home, and really not everything requires a college education or even much in the way of advanced skills. I think people that have really good people skills don't understand that really, as long as you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide, the basic math that you learned in sixth grade is about all you ever need. And that's why, for the longest time in the United States, that's as far as people went to school. It has been only in the last 75 years that people went all the way through high school and then to college. And it's really only been in the last 50 years that people have really had college as a major destination. 50 years ago, less than 25% or 25% or so of people went to college. And then through the late 60s and early 70s, it became a lot more accepted for people to go, and we went from 25 to 50%. And now, ironically, it's only like 62 or 62.7% or 63%, something like that, are the ones that go to college. So not everybody has a college degree. Yet we have 100 million households in this country with jobs out of 350 million people, and the unemployment rate is still fairly low. I'm surprised the unemployment rate isn't 25%, frankly. And I think if you properly calculated it, it probably would be, because there are people that are underemployed and people that aren't putting their skills to good use. There are people with degrees in history that aren't teaching history, they're waiting tables. It's not exactly a use for a $100,000 liberal arts education, waiting tables. You could have done that without having to go to college. So I think it's important that we look for ways to maximize the potential for contribution for folks all over the country. But you have to understand, you have to determine whether or not you're broke or poor. If you're broke, you can work hard and you can make money and you won't be broke anymore. If you're poor, you have to change your mindset first. You have to go from this entitlement and expectation mentality that you've grown up around to an opportunity, like Gary Vaynerchuk says, of a thankful economy. You have to be grateful for things. You have to be thankful for the opportunities that are out there. And I think that the more that people are grateful and thankful for things, the more they can develop and create the right kind of wealth that they're looking for. So I really think that there's some opportunities out there, but I wanted to get this in on broke versus poor. I made another video, which I also posted, that talks about the difference between self-worth and net worth. And I think that's it. I think that institutionalized poverty has created a gap of self-worth that people don't think very much of themselves. They stay home and watch TV. They don't have a job and things like that. They're kind of discouraged. And I think part of it is a matter of having some alternatives for them that renews their hope in opportunities. And I think that that's the kind of thing that will help people get back on the track to earning more money and to not being broke anymore. It's okay to be broke, but it's not okay to be okay with being poor. There's a whole different mentality there. And I think that if you are currently wondering if you're broke or poor, then, just look and see, what your situation is. And then understand that as long as you're poor, you're likely not going to have the necessary self-worth or the motivation to work and become rich, and that you need to change that. You need to change it from, you just have to make the decision mentally to just make the decision and say, you know what, I'm going to go from being poor to being broke, and I'm going to work my ass off so that I can get to where I want to be. Then you can develop the self-worth that you need to then develop the net worth that you want. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.